Hello folks, this is Johnny French. We're recording another episode today at a different location of what's really happening in Corpus Christi. This is one of the places where it really happens. We're within the workshop, and today it's being used for an open house for the Gulf Coast Gem and Mineral Society, which not coincidentally is going to be working itself to death by the end of next month, because the Gem and Mineral Society has its annual show on the 1st and 2nd of March this year. And to give you an idea of the sort of things that may be going on there, we have a portion of this episode that demonstrates how to wire wrap gemstones, those that have already been turned into cabochons, into shapes that nature never dreamt of. And here are some of the materials from which those cabochons may be cut. We have materials here from India, Oregon, Poland, Mexico, a number of things. We've got some from Germany, Brazil, and Texas, Argentina, the Lake Superior area, even South Dakota. All of these things and more will be on display at the Gem and Mineral Show in March, the 1st and 2nd. They will be on display for those 2 days at the fairgrounds, the Borchard Fairgrounds in Robstown. And we hope y'all come out to see them. If you're at all interested in this hobby, or if you just like beautiful things, be sure and come.
My name is Mark Bracken, and today we're going to demonstrate wire wrapping with the Gulf Coast Gem and Mineral Society. My wife and I, Renita, have been doing lapidary here and wire wrapping and collecting rocks for, it seems like forever, for 30 plus years in the rock collecting, but we've been doing this for about 6 years now. And this is what our finished project is going to be today. It's going to be a piece of Namibian blue lace agate from Africa wrapped in sterling silver. And it's one of the pieces that will be showing at the show in March.
There's a sign-in sheet.
Just a little ways. It's one of those things, and then I'm going to put a little bend to the hook, a little offset or a little gap. I'm going to hook it over the middle piece first, making sure they're not twisted. Okay, they're okay. Yes, you've got to stick your tongue out for this step now. I know that laugh so well. Okay. As I'm folding these, what I'm doing is I'm holding the end of the wire, the half round wire. I'm flattening it, grabbing it and flattening it real good, bending it 90 degrees, then rotating the whole frame, grabbing it on this side, flattening 90 degrees. You just go 90 degrees. You do not wrap like string around a bunch of twigs.
And it was round side out?
And I've got the round side out and the flat side against the frame.
So it's a fold and flatten, pretty much, right? Rather than a wrap.
This is one of the things you're going to see a difference between really high quality wire wrapping and people that haven't done as much wire wrapping. You're going to see little bumps where these pieces of wrap stick up above the frame. And you can probably look at some of these pieces here, depending on the age, and see those same things. If you make a mistake, if you've got a little bump, you can actually unwrap this one time and re-wrap it. The second time the wire will break. It also helps if you kind of put a little bit of tension on this as you're pulling it around and then flattening it. I'm not going to deliberately mess this up. If I were teaching a class I would mess it up, I would be using brass and copper and show you what I mean. But you'll see a little bump sticking up. Most people don't do that, but when they start, that's a pretty common problem.
Was that 10-inch piece that you're wrapping?
Yeah. I'm probably gonna have too long a piece, which, hopefully there'll be a 2-inch piece left I can use for another wrap.
So did you start in the exact center?
Hmm?
Did you start in the center, or did you offset it?
I started on my center mark for my center piece right here, and then wrap it across. Either way, it doesn't matter, whichever way you go. The reason I start in the center is because that lets me have further control of the wire. You know, I didn't put a piece of tape there.
Because I was thinking if you started in the center.
Difficult to do.
If
And
I were,
the way he's
yeah.
doing it, make sure that it's properly aligned, each one of them the
Mhm.
same space apart and all of that,
No gaps.
no gaps. And this is one of those spots where you can get that half round twisted, so you have to be cautious.
If you do a gap, it's okay, you can undo it and retighten it again one time. You can also take your pliers, if you're not too far in, and you can slide and push it down. And every time I'm bringing the wire down, besides flattening it, I'm kind of making sure it's pushing against the edge wire to get rid of the gap. You know, these are just all little tricks that you're going to learn by getting yourself a bunch of brass and copper wire and just starting with beach glass or starting with whatever you have and doing a bunch of wrapping.
Mark?
You have a question?
Oh, I just had a question for you.
Go ahead and ask him.
Oh, where, is there somewhere local you can get that wire, that kind of wire?
You know, you can buy wire from Casa de Oro has wire.
Oh,
As far
okay.
as the
Oh, yeah,
copper
I
and
know
brass,
that.
I don't know.
Well,
Bead
Home
Smiths,
Depot has copper wire, but I don't know that it's
No.
half round.
no, Bead Smith, you can find it online, is where we buy most of our supplies are online. Although we
Yeah.
usually buy stuff from Casa de Oro. I
Right.
don't know.
Rio Grande.
Well, we buy from Rio Grande.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was wondering if
.com.
anywhere local, but I forgot, that's right, because the road is always.
RealGrandy.com,
Another chair in the corner.
RealGrandy.com, and you can buy the tools, you can buy the wire, you can buy a lot of stuff.
And like you said, at Casa de Oro, you get all that local.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get a little bit at the craft stores, but you don't get the variety.
Now, you can buy the tools, depending on how much money you want to spend, you can buy them at Walmart.
I have most of the tools because I used to do sculpture. I do sculpture, like art sculpture, not three-dimensional, not jewelry.
I always
So I have
mess
all
up
those tools.
the hook. It's never as pretty as I like it. So I always have to go back and undo like 1 or 2 wraps and then turn it over and pull them tight. So it's nice and so there aren't any gaps. And now I'm going to cut it off with the sharp end being the side that's going to be against the stone so it won't catch on a person's clothing or scratch them. I've got too many tools. Too many
You
tools.
always have your
Is that possible?
Mark, do you always have your starting and ending on the same side of the wire?
Yeah, yeah, so you're gonna have your sharp ends on the same place.
On the side that's gonna be.
It's like too many tools, because my wife might decide that I've got too many. Never have too many tools.
Well, we have
Say,
twice
I
as
never
many
heard anybody
tools.
say they had too many tools.
I'll just show this. Mark, I'm sorry I'm taking more time than I know,
Camera.
just to show you what it looks like. I don't know if you can focus in on it. Put a little offset on it, like a fishing hook. If nothing else, once you start doing wire, you don't have to buy any more fishing gear for fishing the Gulf and wire leaders. You can make your own. I'm just doing exactly the same thing I did before. You need to do at least 3. complete wraps. I like to do 5. It kind of depends. Sometimes I'll do 4, but 5 is nice and it holds it good. It doesn't slide. And for some reason, with the second one, I don't have to go back and redo that one, that edge. Now, when you have a nice consistent cap that's uniform on both sides, it's more important than where I drew those marks on there. It's important to measure to make sure I get the same distance from the bottom. You don't have to understand metric system, but the metric system is the only way to go on wire wrapping, because now I can look at this instead of trying to figure out how many quarters and 32nds of an inch it is. I can put it on here and I can see that from the bottom piece to there is 32 millimeters, but it's 32. And so now when I do this other one over here, I'm going to make sure the next one is 32 from there. It's all about consistency, accuracy, precision. At least that's what we're trying to do.
Practice.
And do a lot of pieces. I can't believe I started it that far up. So now this one, I'm just going to go 1 bend on there, and I'm going to measure, not close, I'm 2 off. Quiet the peanut gallery over there, I hear you nickling.
I just wonder if you always think to yourself when you wire wrap.
Yeah.
A lot of times it does it so early in the morning, that's before I'm going to I get up and there's this beautiful piece on the table that he's made.
Regardless of how many of these you've done, your first one or your whatever, you're always going to look at them and you're going to see a mistake that you've made. There's no such thing as a perfect wrap. But that's just character.
So by what you just did, when you measured, it might not be where you put your marks on there then, right?
It
Because-
wasn't.
because
The
you-
mark was wrong.
Because when you did your marks, you were just eyeing it.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
I always measure on the tape where I'm going to put my wraps on the side. So that when I mark the piece of wire, those are already marked on there in the right spot.
Because we don't eyeball too well.
No.
One of the things too, if you can't see the numbers of wraps for consistency, take your fingernail and you can rub it along there and you can count every little bump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know I've done it right. I'm also making sure that I don't have ever 13 wraps on any of the pieces that I do, in case we have anybody that's
Superstitious.
Trixidic.
trichotillophobic. Yep.
What? Trixidic.
I have a sister who was born on Friday the 13th.
Really?
She was a crybaby in the family. Other than that, she was okay. Youngest girl.
It's actually going to happen pretty fast once I get all this wrapping done. Or at least it seems fast to me. When we teach a class on this, it takes me 3 hours. People that have done this before can usually about 2.5 hours. People that have never picked up a tool before, you're going to be there for 3.5 to 4 hours to get some of them finished. And it all depends on the people's fine motor dexterity.
Do you have to have a lot of hand strength, Mark? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Like grip strength? Do you have to have a
No.
lot?
This dead soft is really soft stuff, or this, even this half-hard silver
And
is
the
really
tools
soft.
aren't
If you go to 14-karat gold filled wire, the half-hard stuff there is hard. It's quite a bit more. I wouldn't start with that. I know people that have. Now is the moment of truth. Is it 32 from the second one to the third one? Nope. No, it's not. Oh God, it's terrible. What I should have done is I should have measured this and... Okay, it's fine. The total length from the bottom of the curve to the top of the frame is 65. I've got the first one at 32, and then I've got the thickness of that on top of it, and so I'm not 32 to the next one, to the start. If that is confusing you, sorry. Here's the piece that wasn't quite as long. I'm hoping I can get 5 wraps. Hey, it's gonna work. I'm